Hello everyone, I'm Cheryl with CNC RV Dear Yet. And as I promised last week when I gave an overview of my story, this is part two, more detail of my story.
I'm taking my chances along with my dreams.
So I was born on Saba. Saba is a 5 square mile island in the Dutch Caribbean. We are right on the northern tip of the Caribbean islands. I was born the youngest of seven. My parents were Ned and Grace Hassel. Hassel is a big family name on the island. As you can imagine, on a small island with a population of about 1,200 people, a big family means that a big chunk of the island you're related to. So my dad came from a family of 12, and I believe all 12, almost all, had 7 kids, and they all went forth and multiplied. So you can imagine that I have a lot of cousins, which is amazing coming from such a big family on my island. I pretty much knew everyone when I was growing up. My oldest sister, Roslyn, who we never call Roslyn, we call her Wadi. She moved from the island before I was born, and she moved to the US, and she had a baby before I was born. So my mom was having kids and grandkids at the same time. I was blessed with 5 sisters and 1 brother, and being the baby, I probably was a bit spoiled throughout my life. But when I think back, I guess my family was a little bit poor. I did not know this. I think we had everything. I was the first child to be born in a hospital on the island. My siblings were all born at home. My dad was epileptic, and he became epileptic at a very young age, and back then there weren't good medications. So he suffered a lot of seizures, fell down, got hurt. He was a laborer and worked for the government, but he spent a lot of time not being able to work because of his seizures. My mom did needlepoint. It was called Spanish work. And because a lady from Venezuela introduced the needlepoint to the island, and she was Spanish, it maintained the name Spanish work up until this day. It's a beautiful needlepoint that the ladies on the island used to do, and my mom did. My mom would she would find addresses from people in America, and she would write to them and send samples of her Spanish work and ask them to either trade work for clothes for the kids or shoes for the kids, or sell the Spanish work for her. And she made some really good relationships into America, and those people helped to trade work and sell work for her, which helped her in turn raise the kids. So that's a little bit of my family story. So I guess my family was poor money-wise, but rich in love. I always remember being surrounded by so much love. I had no idea that we were poor. My parents were strong. My mom was a strong woman, but she was so kind and gentle. If she had one thing, she would share it with somebody else. She was always sharing her food, sharing everything with everybody else. She was so kind. It was so hard for when I moved to this country to leave my mom, because I was so bonded with my mom my whole life. I would visit her several times a day. I was so connected that it was very, very difficult to move, but she was very understanding. She was like, now it's time to move on, and this is for your boys. So that was the encouragement I had from my mom when I moved. When I was 5 years old, my family moved to St. Martin for 6 years. When we moved back to Saba, I was in 6th grade, and I only had like a few months left. So shortly after, when I was finished with 6th grade, my parents sent me back to St. Martin to go to school. But I was only 11. I went to middle school. I was not happy. I was very homesick. and I moved back home. When I came back, my mom signed me up for every class that she could. I learned to macrame, I learned to sew, I learned everything that was available. She signed me up for, and then she signed me up for an accounting class. And that accounting class was really beneficial to me because that led me to the job at the bank. So I worked for Barclays Bank for 8 years, and this was a learning opportunity for me. Although I didn't have any formal education, I learned a lot into that job. And when I was pregnant with my first son, Josh, I decided when he was born, I did not want to leave him for 8 hours a day for a job. So I left the bank and I went to work for a small hotel on the island, one of the most popular hotels, Captain's Quarters. And I worked there for 8 years. I worked part-time. I was the bookkeeper, and it was great because I could take Josh to work with me sometimes, and I had the best boss in the world. Rudolph, my cousin Rudolph, was the manager of the hotel at the time, and he was the nicest person to work for. Besides, I love him as a cousin. He was an awesome boss. After my time with Captain's Quarters, together with my sister-in-law, Glenda, my brother's wife, we opened a clothing store first. And her and I used to come to America, and we would purchase clothing to sell, and we would have the most adventuresome trips. Almost every time traveling, we would miss a flight. It was bad weather. One time we sat in Miami airport for 10 hours because there was a storm in the Caribbean. Finally, we got to Puerto Rico at midnight. And whenever we came to America to shop, we would always buy stuff to take home, of course, and we'd always buy meats, like a cooler of meats, because everything on a small island is limited. And this one time we had this big pack of meat. It took 2 of us to put it in the overhead bin. So here we are, 12-hour day, not expecting this. Our meat was frozen, and we get to the hotel at midnight in Puerto Rico, and we asked for a freezer. Well, the only thing that was available was a fridge. So we put our meat in the fridge, and we went to the ice machine, and we got ice, and we packed the fridge with it. And we turned away, and the door opened, and the ice and meat and everything was just spewing out on the hotel floor. We had to bungee cord the refrigerator to keep our meat good to take it home. And at this point, by midnight, we were just dying on the floor laughing. But that's just one of our many adventures. We weren't probably so happy about it that night, but when we think back about it, we had so much fun traveling, and we had so much fun in that business together. And after about 8 years, when I always dreamt about coming to this country to live, I could see myself living in this country. And the clothing store, clothing is not optional. We need clothing, but it's not something you need every day. So together with my sister Debbie, we decided to open a grocery store because there was more of a need for food, and we thought we could do better financially. And I was looking for a way to get to this country. I was willing to work hard, but I needed to make more money than the clothing store was generating. The next reason for wanting to open my own business was when my second son was born, Raphael. I wanted to have more time to spend with my kids, be more flexible, so this way I could take them both to my business, or be there for them in the afternoons and whatever they needed, especially when they started school, for afternoon school activities. My parents took care of my oldest son, Josh, when he was little. My dad had poor health. Besides his epilepsy, he also had heart disease. He had a massive heart attack when he was in his 60s. And although he survived many years after, he couldn't do much. He was very weak. He could just walk around. He couldn't work anymore. And sadly, at 72, we lost our dad. He didn't die from a heart attack. He really died from pneumonia at the time, but his heart was so weak, he couldn't overcome it. So my mom continued helping me with my sons, and I wanted more flexibility to spend more time with my boys. So that was another reason for opening my businesses as well. When I got married really young, actually I was 18, and started building a house with the help of my dad's supervision. He would go up every day, and although he couldn't do things physically, he would supervise the person working onto the house. My job at the bank was it was a good time for me building the house because I was able to get a mortgage and get a credit card when I would come on vacation. So the time working in the bank was a good time. Every step we take in life is for a reason. Every step I took was for a reason. So that was about my businesses, and my grocery store was a transition to move into this country. My brother Vernon, he was one that sponsored me because I worked for him in the Caribbean. He sponsored me into this country, and I told you a little bit last week, I worked for him for 8 years. I'm forever grateful because of all my family support. I was able to follow my dream and move to this country. When my oldest son met a girl from Florida, Casey, my lovely daughter-in-law, they went back to Saba on vacation, and he came back and he said, "Mom, your dream is not my dream, and I'm moving back to Saba." And with him on, and I was so proud of him, although I miss them so much, and I miss my grandkids are in the Caribbean now. I was so proud of him because just like I followed my dream, he followed his dream. And within a month, they had figured it all out. They had found rent for the house, paid all the bills, found a place in Saba, had jobs, and they were off to follow their dreams back to Saba in the Caribbean. And Casey, she fit in Saba just like an island girl. I mean, she calls it home now. After 10 years, of course, it's her home. But from the very beginning, she fit right in like an island girl. She loved it. And now they have their own boat. He's a fisherman, but a lobster fishing business. It's a good business back home. And I am very grateful that they had the opportunity to follow their dream. I think it's a tough life, but it's his dream. It's what makes him happy, and I'm so proud of them that they followed their dream and they're doing what they want to now in Saba. And it's a good place for little kids. So my little grandkids, Sophie and Landon, they are in a really safe place. So my youngest son, Raphael, he also followed his dreams right here in America. He's an engineer, and he works for a company that they make parts for bones, and I'm super proud of him. That's where he met his beautiful wife, Jessica, who is originally from Cuba, and they live in Florida, and I get to see them more often, of course, but I'm super proud of both of my kids. Now, when I moved to Florida, there were a lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles to get through. My marriage didn't work out. We went our separate ways. And that opened the way to this new life I'm into. I was on my own for a couple of years, and then I got introduced to my hubby, Charles. We got introduced by mutual friends, Vic and Veronica, who we love dearly, and we owe this life to them. And Veronica always says, as long as it's good, she hooked us up. If something goes wrong, she had nothing to do with it. We love them both to pieces. The second best part of meeting the love of my life was my bonus family. Together now we have 5 kids and 7 grandkids, and it was so nice increasing our family. And I love his kids, I love his grandkids. We get along so well. That was a beautiful thing. And I have been able to start a new career because of my hubby. He had more confidence in me than I had in myself because he had been in insurance his whole life, like 40 years. And when he started talking about it, my first thought was, oh, I'm not like smart enough for that. But I sat in one day onto an enrollment from our company. And I thought, if they can do it, I can do it too. So I went home and I told him this, and within a short time I was studying for my insurance license. I got my insurance license. And going back to my life on Sabre, when my son started school, and especially when Joshua started high school, I was struggling to help them in school. So I made a decision to take a high school course, a correspondence course. And we didn't have internet back then. It wasn't online. I would have to have my books mailed to me. I would do the exams, mail them back. I would go down to the airport. Any tourist that was coming to America, I would ask them to mail my exams for me. And in 5 years, not one exam went missing. In fact, I got my high school diploma just a few months before my son finished and got his. So it was a challenge, but I'm proud of myself that I could even do that back then. And getting my insurance license was a huge challenge, but it was such a good opportunity for me. And in the beginning I was like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not smart enough, and whatever. And after that, because of the confidence that Charles had in me, it made my confidence stronger in myself. And he said, don't look at it in a big way, learn something new every day. And I did. And up until this day at night, I say, oh, I learned something new today. Because you know how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time? Well, anything big, if you break it down, you can get through it. So together with the confidence of my hubby and the support, I'm in a place where I can work remotely and be on this journey and still have my career and work from. I work from home. I work from our home on the go. But that's an amazing opportunity for me. So I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. I live by the secret, which is the universe, which is God. Everything starts in the head. I'm living in this country because it all started in my head. It all started with a dream. When people said you couldn't do it, in my head I thought, I can already see it. I can feel it. I can experience it. So the same thing with this new life. When we started talking about, moving into an RV and living, we had already downsized. And I thought, well, I don't need a lot of stuff. And I'm at a time in my life now that I really don't enjoy cleaning and taking care of stuff anymore. So it began to seem more and more exciting. And when we went and picked out our RV, my first thought was, oh my gosh, where am I going to put this and this and this? But then I thought, we don't really need this and this and this. So we just weeded out and we picked what we really needed. And we were super excited to move into our RV. We spent the first few months in Florida, just traveling through Florida. And we made a decision the first week in February to leave Florida, head west towards California, then north, then work our way back down. And all along the way, we get comments all the time, people we meet, people we talk to. We would love to do what you do. You can do what we do. Everybody has this opportunity. It has to start with a plan, with a dream. But of course, you have to take action towards that dream. When we started dreaming about it, my hubby started researching RVs. We went to see an RV, test it. You have to put the plan in place. So it starts with a dream. But if you want to do something, you need to set your intentions for it, put it on your dream board, and anything you want to achieve, you can make happen. This is a life I only could have dreamed about before. And sometimes I still think I'm dreaming because we go to places, we go to national parks, and the beauty in these places just melts my heart. My heart is so full, it just makes me emotional actually. I am super blessed to be living my dream. And I want to share with you, if you have a dream, go for it. Life is short. In December, when I contracted COVID over the holidays and missed Christmas completely and time away from my family and went through weeks and months of recovering, It really was an eye-opener of how short life is and how we should all follow our dreams. I try to fill myself every day with only positive stuff, and the positive stuff in, positive stuff out. My heart is always full, and I'm here to tell you that if I can live my dream, you can live your dream. Anybody can live their dream. With the right mindset, anything in life is possible. So I love you all from my heart to your heart. CNC, are we there yet? This is Cheryl's story.